The 10 most scandalous and shocking facts about Jerry Falwell Sr. Jerry Falwell Sr., the influential televangelist and founder of Liberty University, remains one of the most polarizing figures in modern American religious and political history. Revered by his followers and criticized by his detractors, Falwell's legacy is a mixture of devout evangelism, controversial political activism, and scandalous controversies. Here are 10 of the most shocking and intriguing facts about the life and career of this larger-than-life figure. Number 1. Humble beginnings and a troubled family life. Born on August 11, 1933, in Lynchburg, Virginia, Jerry Lamont Falwell Sr. grew up in a family marked by turbulence. His father, Cary Hezekiah Falwell, was a businessman with a darker side as a bootlegger during Prohibition. Cary's violent streak came to a head when he allegedly killed his own brother during a heated argument. Although acquitted, the incident cast a long shadow over the family. Jerry's mother, Helen Virginia Beasley, played a pivotal role in raising him, providing stability amidst chaos. When Cary died unexpectedly in 1948, young Jerry turned away from his father's troubled legacy, seeking solace in religion. This pivotal moment set him on the path to becoming a preacher. In 1958, Jerry married Massel Pate, who stood by him through his career as a televangelist and political activist. The couple had 3 children, Jerry Jr., who later became the controversial president of Liberty University, Jonathan, a pastor, and Jeannie, who stayed largely out of the public eye. Critics noted that while Falwell publicly espoused family values, his career's demands often kept him away from his own. Number 2. Founder of the Moral Majority, a political revolution. In 1979, Falwell launched the Moral Majority, an organization that transformed conservative Christian activism in America. The group was instrumental in Ronald Reagan's 1980 presidential victory, with its ability to mobilize millions of evangelical voters. Falwell's mantra, "Get them saved, baptized, and registered to vote," epitomized the fusion of faith and politics. The organization peaked with over 4 million members and raised millions to fund its causes. However, its staunch opposition to abortion, LGBTQ+ rights, and secularism drew fierce criticism. Many accused Falwell of manipulating religion for political power, while others lauded him as a defender of Christian values. Despite its influence, the Moral Majority dissolved in 1989, leaving a legacy of polarization and reshaping the intersection of religion and politics in the U.S. Number 3. The PTL scandal and Jim Bakker's fall. In 1987, Jerry Falwell stepped into the spotlight of one of the largest televangelist scandals in history, the collapse of Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker's PTL, Praise the Lord, ministry. Jim Bakker, then a towering figure in Christian broadcasting, was accused of financial mismanagement, misappropriating millions of dollars from PTL's funds, and engaging in an extramarital affair with Jessica Hahn, a church secretary. Under immense pressure, Bakker handed control of PTL to Falwell, hoping he would stabilize the ministry. Instead, Falwell publicly condemned Bakker, calling him a liar, an embezzler, a sexual deviant, and a cancer on the body of Christ. Falwell's harsh words shocked many, especially those who expected him to show mercy. His actions, while ostensibly aimed at restoring integrity to PTL, raised questions about his true motivations. Critics accused Falwell of using the scandal as an opportunity to consolidate his own influence over evangelical broadcasting. Ultimately, the scandal led to Bakker's imprisonment for mail fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy, while Falwell's reputation was marred by allegations of opportunism. The PTL collapse served as a cautionary tale about the risks of blending faith, money, and unchecked power. Number 4. The AIDS epidemic controversy. Jerry Falwell's stance on the AIDS epidemic during the 1980s was among the most polarizing aspects of his career. As the disease spread, disproportionately affecting LGBTQ+ communities, Falwell declared that AIDS was God's punishment for homosexuality. His inflammatory remarks, including describing AIDS as the gay plague, sparked outrage from activists, public health officials, and even some religious leaders. Falwell's rhetoric was widely condemned for exacerbating the stigma surrounding AIDS. Organizations like ACT UP and prominent figures such as playwright Larry Kramer targeted Falwell as emblematic of the ignorance and hatred fueling the public health crisis. Critics argued that his comments hindered efforts to educate the public and provide compassionate care for those affected. Despite the backlash, Falwell refused to soften his stance, doubling down on his interpretation of the epidemic as a divine warning. His uncompromising position on AIDS remains a dark chapter in his legacy, emblematic of his broader tendency to use religious doctrine as a justification for divisive and often harmful rhetoric. Number 5. Blaming 9/11 on America's sins. On September 13, 2001, just 2 days after the terrorist attacks that claimed nearly 3,000 lives, Falwell appeared on Pat Robertson's The 700 Club and made one of the most controversial statements of his career. He suggested that feminists, LGBTQ+ individuals, secularists, and others he deemed immoral were partially responsible for the attacks, claiming they had provoked God's wrath. "I really believe that the pagans, abortionists, feminists, gays, and lesbians helped this happen," Falwell said, with Robertson nodding in agreement. The public reaction was immediate and overwhelmingly negative. Families of 9/11 victims, religious leaders, and political figures condemned Falwell's remarks as insensitive and inflammatory. Under intense pressure, Falwell issued a public apology, stating that his comments were ill-timed and misunderstood. Nevertheless, the damage was done, and his reputation, even among moderate Christians, suffered irreparable harm. The episode underscored the dangers of using tragedy to advance ideological agendas and remains one of the most infamous moments in Falwell's career. Number 6. The Larry Flynt Feud. In 1983, Hustler magazine publisher Larry Flynt ran a satirical ad claiming Falwell had an incestuous relationship with his mother in an outhouse. Outraged, Falwell sued Flynt for $45 million for libel and emotional distress. The case escalated to the Supreme Court, which ruled in 1988 that public figures could not sue for emotional distress over parody. The landmark ruling in Hustler magazine versus Falwell was a significant victory for free speech but a humiliating defeat for Falwell, who faced ridicule over the lawsuit. Flynt, despite their rivalry, later claimed to respect Falwell as a worthy opponent. Number 7. The Zionist Christian Alliance. Falwell's support for Israel often raised eyebrows. He called Israel's survival a biblical mandate and maintained close ties with Israeli leaders like Menachem Begin. Critics argued that Falwell's advocacy was rooted in apocalyptic prophecies rather than genuine solidarity. In 1981, Falwell controversially accepted a private jet from the Israeli government, fueling accusations that his unwavering support was incentivized. While many praised his staunch defense of Israel, others viewed it as opportunistic and self-serving. Number 8. The role of Liberty University. Founded in 1971, Liberty University was Falwell's attempt to create a haven for conservative Christian education. The institution grew rapidly, amassing over 100,000 students, including online learners, by the 2000s. However, its early years were plagued by financial struggles and accusations of lax academic standards. Critics also targeted Falwell's use of the university as a political pulpit, arguing it blurred the line between education and activism. Despite these challenges, Liberty became a powerhouse in evangelical education, solidifying Falwell's influence in shaping Christian conservatism. Number 9. Racial integration and a change of heart. In the 1950s, Falwell delivered sermons defending segregation, once stating that integration was an insult to God. His stance reflected the Southern Baptist community's resistance to the civil rights movement. However, by the 1970s, Falwell reversed his position, advocating for racial equality and integrating both his church and Liberty University. Skeptics argue this change was politically motivated, as the moral majority sought broader support. Regardless, it marked a notable shift in Falwell's public image, though his earlier rhetoric left a stain on his legacy. Number 10. Legacy and controversial deathbed comments. Falwell died on May 15, 2007, after being found unresponsive in his office at Liberty University. His passing marked the end of an era but left behind a deeply polarized legacy. In his later years, Falwell reportedly expressed regret for some of his more incendiary statements, though he refrained from offering full apologies. Supporters hailed him as a defender of Christian values, while critics viewed him as a divisive figure who exploited religion for personal and political gain. His life remains a case study in the interplay between faith, politics, and controversy in modern America.